Now, interestingly, she doesn't explain it to us. She just states it's a conspiracy theory by merely raising the question. Maybe she would like to answer it. How was that possible, Liz? Hi, and thank you so much for joining me. Well, Liz Jones. Liz Jones is a respected journalist for the Daily Mail. I often read her articles. I'm often entertained by them, whether that was her intention or not. But this video is going to address her admonishing all those who dared to raise questions about Meghan Markle's pregnancy, sparked, of course, by Meghan's recent anniversary mood board, where she posted a very blurry, low-light image of her pregnancy and also a baby scan image with no apparent identifying text. Now, these pics served a purpose, according to Liz Jones, a way for Meghan to hit back at trolls and conspiracy theorists who have questions about her pregnancies. However, before we delve into all that, let's look at some of Ms. Jones' most recent efforts for the Daily Mail this month. For example, the 3rd of May, her response to Prince Harry's BBC interview upon hearing he lost his security appeal. Now, I have a direct quote right here. "Well, I'm in tears. I literally want to give him a hug and tell him everything is going to be okay. I've rarely seen a public figure, let alone a prince of the realm, speak so candidly from the heart and so clearly be making a cry for help. Anyone who ignores his pleas is very hard-hearted indeed." Well, that shuts down debate, doesn't it? That only gives you one way to go, because if you raise any doubts about his brittle and angry display, which was my opinion of it, then I'm very hard-hearted indeed. She's very quick with the labelling and the shame. Let's have a look at the 6th of May, her take on Brexit. Harry and Brooklyn have been described as kind, which to certain high-powered women can mean malleable. Both men are, I believe, victims of something akin to Stockholm Syndrome, falling in love with their wifely captors while growing distant from their families. Now, I was quite surprised, because for the remainder of the article, she actually doubled down on that opinion. Now, usually Liz hedges her bets. Usually she says something quite stark and inflammatory like that. Then she spends the rest of the article backtracking or hedging her bets because she doesn't want to be on the wrong side of any debate. Finally, 7th of May, just a final review of her recent work for the Daily Mail. Even Meghan, trying to burnish her fashionista credentials with her new digital shop, skipped the event amid rumours she and Harry dropped out at the last minute. Now, we all know that's patently ridiculous. They've been deciding not to show up for the last 7 years because they've never received an invitation. Now, some commentators have suggested that Liz Jones was just poking the bear, rattling the cage, warning the Sussexes that they should make a clarifying statement sooner rather than later. That might be right. It is a tried and tested journalistic technique. However, I don't really agree. I felt the overt shaming of all those who dared to raise these questions was Liz once more hedging her bets, not bravely moving forward with the narrative. Others have done that way before my time on YouTube, and many paid the ultimate price. So let's not give credit where it blatantly isn't due. I'm not going to let MSM come in at the last minute and seize all the glory for all the work and exposing that everybody else has done, although that is par for the course. We all know that. But I have some questions, Liz. I don't think curiosity makes me a troll or a conspiracy theorist. I don't think questions are a theory anyway. They're just a form of inquiry to ascertain facts, objective fact. That should be the truth. And I guess that's a journo's job, isn't it? And apropos to the blurry low-light picture, why didn't Meghan publish a well-lit, clear pregnancy shot taken by a professional photographer so it's Getty-worthy? You know, a pic that's provably unaltered. I'm sure she would have hired a professional to capture her advanced pregnancy, wouldn't she? Most women in the public eye have stunning professional pregnancy shots taken. After all, it's very prudent for a wannabe influencer to have high-res shots in the can. I mean, it just makes sense. Even for a possible future publishing deal, you would make sure you had them, wouldn't you? Why pin this strange low-light effort? It would just raise more questions especially in regard to the apparent shiny light reflecting surface on the baby bump itself. And why pin a baby scan with no identifying standard text? All scans have it. I checked mine. To ensure records are searchable and the physician knows they are checking the right scan. But let's not nitpick. Let's look at Liz Jones' accusations in depth. She claims that the surrogate rumours are not only unfounded, but ludicrous and utterly baseless. So that doesn't sound to me like a journalist just poking the bear, trying to get a response from the Sussexes. That sounds like a journalist very much defending the Sussexes from having to be accountable for this issue. If you label anyone that's raised questions to be ludicrous and to be raising utterly baseless concerns, then you shut down debate, don't you? You shut down the conversation. But let's look at the explanation she offers for why this is the case. Why are the surrogate rumours unfounded according to Liz Jones? But looking at the article, I can't, because she doesn't give us any explanation. All she does is jump straight to a defensive question, and I quote, "Why is Meghan's womb and the veracity of her being a mum so important to these online trolls?" Well, maybe I can answer that, Liz, not as an online troll. It's important to many people because of the line of succession. Important to people in Great Britain, important to people throughout the Commonwealth that has the royal family as their constitutional monarchy. That's it. Line of succession. Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet are 6th and 7th in line for the British throne. Liz Jones said that conspiracy theorists questioned how Meghan was home so soon after Archie's birth. Now, interestingly, she doesn't explain it to us. She just states it's a conspiracy theory by merely raising the question. Maybe she would like to answer it. How was that possible, Liz? We were told that Meghan was home with a child in arms less than 2 hours after supposedly giving birth, after 2 epidurals. We know this because her husband, a prince of the realm, also in the line of succession, by the way, told us. He told us in his memoir. So, are you a conspiracy theorist if you merely question a story that is highly implausible, that is medically unlikely? Are the many medical professionals that have contacted me in my comments over the last few years crazy? Crazy conspiracy theorists, trolls. I find them to be hardworking nurses and doctors, professionals that say with confidence, Liz, that this account cannot be true. If so, explain it. Don't deflect with further shaming questions in your little article. Just because people dare to question and ask, answer it. Answer the question. So, I reiterate, how is it possible that Meghan got home so soon after the birth of her son, according to her husband's account? The only plausible explanation, Liz, would be that the Prince Harry was actually lying in his memoir, and I'm sure you don't want to do that. She then applauds Meghan and Harry for not taking baby photos on the steps of Portland Hospital, saying many women applauded that decision. Well, I would have too. I'm an old feminist from way back, except it wasn't a decision they had to make. Meghan said very clearly in the Oprah Winfrey interview, and I quote, "We weren't asked to take a picture." So their supposed refusal and decision was completely unnecessary, according to Meghan, because it was never on the table and it was never requested. Liz Jones then claims we were asked to listen to popping sounds as Meghan bent to pet a dog. True. And if you look at the footage, you can see a discernible reaction by those around her. Slight, but there, which puts paid to any suggestion that that sound was put in post-edit, because you can see a reaction within the footage. Now, what were they reacting to? Did Meghan fart? Maybe it was a whoopee cushion that Harry put into her coat for a joke. Maybe one of the other people there actually popped off. We'll never know. Then she seemingly eye rolls at those asking why Meghan's bump swung from side to side in slow-mo footage that flooded social media at the time, claiming that mums have stated mine didn't do that. Evidently stating that makes you a troll and a conspiracy theorist with ludicrous, baseless theories. Well, Liz, speaking as a mum of two, not as a hideous troll or conspiracy theorist, I have to say, hand on heart, mine didn't do that either. Because I presume that if you had such a swing up of a big, heavy, pregnant belly, it would actually rip your skin, wouldn't it? Or suggest some concerning extreme muscle failure? So my bump didn't swing from side to side. It didn't appear lower than higher the next day. It didn't appear bigger than smaller. It didn't noticeably change appearance within the space of a few hours. It was rock hard, a fortress of protection for my unborn child. So now let's read on and hear Liz's explanation. Oh, there isn't one. Just another defensive unanswered question about Meghan squatting heavily pregnant with her legs together, and Liz puts that ability down to Pilates. I don't think people were questioning Meghan's athletic ability. I think they were referring to the fact that the bump seemingly yielded against her legs. It seemingly went away. I worked in a bookstore and I had to squat down heavily pregnant on the daily. And as I got bigger, through necessity, the squat became a wider leg squat so that the bump had room, somewhere to go between my legs, because once it hit my legs, being rock hard, I couldn't actually keep squatting down. So I moved my legs apart slightly in a wide leg squat, and then the bump had room to go between my legs. I was young, I was fit, in high-heeled boots, all good, I could squat. But the bump required room. It had nowhere to go. I'm starting to think that Liz may have a point, though. That maybe all women that have actually experienced pregnancy themselves who are politely raising these questions are really the problem. Then we go to St George's Chapel photo call, Meghan in a stunning white dress, reportedly a few days, not weeks, after Archie's birth. Interesting dress choice. It's not something I would have chosen a few days after giving birth, just in case there was an accident of some sort. I have seen, but have no way of verifying, the video of Prince Harry seemingly, apparently, giving the cute little bundle he's holding a sustained and very forceful finger press. Now, that isn't an action I've ever used myself while holding a newborn, sleeping baby. I would be really concerned to press that hard on a newborn baby because I wouldn't want to bruise them in any way. So it did make me mildly curious. However, that curiosity can't be expressed because apparently noticing something unusual makes you a troll. It makes you a conspiracy theorist. So from now on, if I notice anything at all, I'm not going to question it. I'm going to accept everything on face value because a journalist from the esteemed Daily Mail told me to. Then there's a change of tack in the article. Ms. Jones hedges her bets, claiming there's no way that such a deceitful act could even be possible. That makes sense to a certain degree. It would be difficult, but I argue not impossible. And I'll explain why, because I've actually thought about it. The public doesn't have access to the doctors that were in attendance, and very unusually, we all know the doctors in attendance supposedly didn't even sign off on the birth publicly. Hospital records are also unavailable to everybody, and even car logs from the palace to Frogmore Cottage are unavailable too due to security reasons. The couple themselves have never had to face or answer any questions, any of these questions, and the actual meetings with the rest of the royal family throughout Meghan's entire pregnancy were very rare, often very brief, and in the public eye. So they're not going to be going up and filling her belly, are they? So difficult, but not impossible. I also think that would have maybe been behind the very fortuitous alienation of the entire royal family from the couple throughout her pregnancy post-Australian tour. because when she got back for the Australian tour, that was when relationships completely fell apart. And what better way to ensure that there was no family dropping in? Another reason given was that it wouldn't be attempted because it ridicules our royal family as well as the British people that apparently paid for the wedding. Well, I don't think that would be a consideration for Harry and Meghan, Liz. I don't think they have any qualms at all about ridiculing the royal family or the British people. I mean, they've done far worse over the last 7 years. They've actually accused them of racism. But for the sake of argument, let's agree with Liz Jones' assertion. Then why the performance? Why the latent feeding of this speculation? Why not shut it down? Why not, for example, did the doctors not publicly sign off on the birth? That would have immediately put much of this speculation to rest. Let's face it, it would have. Why the ridiculous account of Archie's birth in Spare by Harry? Why? What was the point? And this is the clinker. It is very interesting and telling that Liz Jones did not mention Birkenhead, which was the most controversial and striking moment that raised the most questions of Meghan's entire pregnancy. And of course, the Royal Rota was there that day. The Royal Rota covered it, and Valentine Lowe was actually on the ground at that moment. Now, this is just a personal opinion, but I am firmly of the opinion that MSM journalists, the Royal Rota, know much more about this than they're letting on. And I think they very much want a statement from Harry and Meghan because they're feeling quite constrained, not being able to say everything that they know in regards to this couple. The other thing they've got to watch, though, is the fact that the public trust in MSN is already faded. The belief that so much misinformation is fed to us on the daily will be enhanced if this turns out to be the case. If indeed the public, the British public, the Commonwealth public, were actually duped to this extent by this couple, and there's a perception that mainstream media knew more than they let on. They may not have known the entire story, but they may have had suspicions that they didn't report on. Then who is going to trust that for a source of news ever again? Also, we all know it's going to be extremely damaging to the royal family. So there are many unexplained images from that day, from Birkenhead. And it's interesting that Meghan experienced dark thoughts within 48 hours of that, at sometimes amusing coverage. Which brings me to another question. Why didn't she immediately consult her obstetrician for mental health support at that dark and difficult time? Did she have one? She concludes the article with a call for mercy, a reminder that Meghan is indeed human. She claims that the pregnancy whispers have gone too far into the realms of bullying. Whispers? I think it's more like a yell, Liz. She then suggests that at this time it could be rectified via a simple statement from Harry and Meghan. I don't think a mere statement will suffice, Liz. I think we need medical proof. We need a publication of the attending doctor's signatures and an explanation for all the rather strange things that we have witnessed with our own eyes. The only plausible explanation I can think of, and I don't really subscribe to it, but I'll put it out there to prove to Liz that I'm not a troll or a conspiracy theorist, that Meghan's bump may have been covered by a cosmetic bump to ensure a more pleasing silhouette. That would explain the swing and the movement and the difference in size. However, if true, you would provide an explanation before questions like these reached fever pitch, wouldn't you? Unless you were enjoying the attention. If you were relishing the undermining of the trust in the institution you were hoping to damage. I doubt there will be a response, though, because like I pointed out, it's going to actually open up a can of worms for everybody. So I stand by the legitimate questions I've raised on this issue. I think I've been very calm and measured in raising them. So I'll repeat, and I want answers from MSM journalists. How did they get home so soon after the birth of Archie, especially if you factor in travel time, as Harry stated, from Portland Hospital? Meghan did have 2 epidurals, according to Harry, so there is no way that she could be safely home within 2 hours of giving birth to Archie. It is actually medically impossible. So MSM, explain it. And if this was an inaccurate account by her husband, why did he lie? Explain that. And also, MSM, Royal Rota, explain how did Meghan squat heavily pregnant with her legs together? Where did the bump go? Explain that. And why did Liz Jones fail to refer to Birkenhead and all the photographic proof of that visit? And if indeed an example, this photo, if there is a plausible explanation for this photo I'm putting up on the screen right now, I want to hear it. And if it's plausible, I will accept it, and I will apologize, and I will backtrack. But I have not yet heard one plausible explanation. Most people interested in this story are just normal people seeking answers to legitimate questions fundamental to the line of succession. So that doesn't make someone a troll or a conspiracy theorist. It makes them observant and curious. And in my opinion, no one should ever be made to feel shame for that. Let me know what you think down below. I will be reading every single comment, and I'll be back to see you very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.